Hey everybody, doing another live Q&A. Excuse me. So this is on the Off Grid Schoolie YouTube channel, the Chris Travels Facebook page, as well as Tiny Home Tours Facebook page. So if you have any questions about living on the road, digital nomad life, all that fun stuff, be sure to leave your questions in the comments. And I will go ahead and get started with questions from last time. So if you are watching the replay of this, just know that you are able to ask questions and I will get to those. So the first question that came in from last time is from Cheryl Clark. Where is your $1,000 a month cost coming from? So I had mentioned in the last live Q&A that, excuse me as I take my gum out, in the last Q&A that it cost me about $1,000 a month to live on the road. It is broken down into health insurance, vehicle insurance, cell phone, all my subscriptions, HBO Max, Netflix, Funimation account, all my food, and all my diesel. Now that diesel prices have skyrocketed, it's probably a little bit more. It's probably closer to $1,100 or $1,200 a month, but I still don't travel that much in the bus. Basically, the way that the bus is set up is I have it to where I can park the bus. Then I have a tow car where I'm able to bounce around. The bus has 200 gallons of fresh water, has tons of food storage. So, I'm really not moving the bus that much. Like that's probably going to be my biggest expense now besides food is the diesel. But that's where the $1,000 comes out. Things on the bus eventually break. So I do have a $200 buffer in there. And with the increased diesel prices, it's probably a little bit off. It's probably a little more expensive to be on the road. But I got to Arizona in November, and I had only used a tank and a half of gas up until a recent trip that I took with some friends. And, that's basically 150 gallons of diesel from November through the beginning or middle of March. So if you look at it that way, so that's December, January, February, March. So basically 3.5 months for 150 gallons of diesel, which wasn't that bad. So that is where the $1,000 a month comes in for my cost to live on the road. And again, I haven't had any major mechanical issues. James, what's going on, bud? And SPKNTC, how's it going? Darlene, thanks for joining, everybody. James, hopefully you made it back to Colorado okay. Mini haha for the winter. Interesting. Are you talking about the off-grid thing? So this upcoming winter, I'm planning on spending the winter in Wisconsin. So that's going to be very interesting. The goal is to get a bunch of food storage, rice, beans, flour, and then hunting, trapping, fishing for a lot of the food besides that. And, gathering water from a local stream. We're going to see how that whole thing goes. It's been a dream of mine since I was a kid, and it's looking like it's going to happen this upcoming winter. Benny Hill, Planet Over 100 this year. Benny Hill, I'm smoking the chronic. Oh, he's growing weed. Very lucrative business. A lot of nomads will actually work on hemp farms during the season and make thousands and thousands of dollars, work pretty hard for a month or two, and then just travel the rest of the year. So I know a couple people that do that. Aaron, thanks for joining. Dina, thanks for joining. Mariah, you inspire us to stay on the road. Awesome. That's great to hear. I absolutely love this digital nomad lifestyle. Right now, you are in my school bus, doing this live Q&A in my bus. I absolutely love this lifestyle. I know it's not for everybody, but I highly suggest it. Market, hello. Benny, sipping on gin and juice. SPKN, Spokane Truck Camper. I spent some time in Spokane. There's a beautiful boondocking spot. I think it was called Three Lakes or something like that. It was about an hour outside of Spokane. I absolutely love that boondocking spot out there. The Spokane area in Washington's awesome. Charlene, thanks for joining. Dina, very chilly but beautiful. Where are you at, Dina? It's starting to warm up here in Arizona. I'm actually excited for warm weather. You might be able to hear the fan right back there running right now. Got to start running the AC here pretty soon. It's getting pretty warm here in Arizona. Heading north soon. D, what's the minimum size tiny home on wheels that tiny home communities allow? See, I'm not too sure, D, because I think every tiny home community is different. So some tiny home communities will have different spots for rigs to come in and park, like you can park your camper van on the property or your RV. Some of them require, traditionally built tiny home to be placed there. It really just depends on the particular spot. I do know a lot of people are buying up RV parks right now and allowing all different types of parking. So D, it's a really hard question to answer because it's really dependent on what spot you're looking at. James, Wisconsin. Yep. Gonna be doing the off-grid thing in Wisconsin, but it's pretty close to Minnesota, the spot that we're kind of looking at. So same, but different. Aaron, thanks for joining. Mariah, the bus looks great. Looks like you got a lot done. Yep. Lots of work. I got my solar cover off right now because another mouse made its way inside the bus, and I actually used that spray, and he has seemed to disappear for now. So fingers crossed that mouse is gone. Wendy, I have a Sprinter van and want to build it out. Yeah, those Sprinter builds, very high demand right now. Seeing a lot of new school buses on the road. A lot of people are getting the mini buses. A lot of people are getting camper vans and hitting the road, which is awesome. People are working the remote jobs. Got something on my chin there. Dina, Philly today, Las Vegas tonight. Hopefully you're not driving though. Aaron, it's been a dream of mine to build a schoolie for a while. I'm surrounded by them every day. I work for the school system. Yeah, Aaron, you could probably get a good deal on a school bus. And then if you actually work within the school district, you know which buses are good and which buses are bad, which buses to stay away from. And on that note, if you are considering a school bus, you're looking at one at auction or whatever, make sure that you call the school district and ask for their bus maintenance department, and then speak to the head mechanic, because that head mechanic's been dealing with that bus. Typically, buses stay within a school system for 15 years, and they know that bus in and out. They know its quirks. They know everything going on with it. So if you are considering a schoolie, make sure to make that call. That saved me from buying a bus that had a blown engine when I was looking for a school bus. And then typically, if you tell them what they're doing, they're more than happy to send you the bus maintenance records as well. Like, let you know it's a good bus, send the maintenance records, and you can really get a good idea of what you're starting with. Market immersion, looking for a big van or shuttle now. Awesome. I found my bus on public surplus. That was pre-pandemic, so it was definitely a different time, but there's always buses on there as well. Levi, how much does a tiny home cost? So it really depends on the tiny home. If you get a good deal on a mini school bus and you're able to build it out cheap, it can be very cheap. If you're wanting to do a raised roof bus like mine, you're going to start getting up there. Mine is about $60,000 to $70,000, but it's still not that much when you have your home on wheels. Charlene, thanks for joining. Adventures with Gnome. How's it going out there? Ohio's been up to 8 inches of snow coming tomorrow. Goodness. Arizona would be awesome right now. Yeah, when you start getting to snow, 8 inches of snow or 90 degrees in the desert, I think I might take the desert over that. Benny, can't travel at the moment as I tend to this lovely pot farm. Yeah, a lot of people do that. Happily Houses, what's going on, bud? Any recommendations for a good solar lithium system upgrade shops? It's time for us to improve the Class C. So I don't know of any upgrade shops that I would recommend. I work pretty exclusively with people that I've worked with a long time. I do know component-wise what I use, and for all our different rigs, I use Victron components. That's the charge controller, inverter, cutoff switches, all that. And I use Battleborn batteries. I know that there's a lot of secondary market lithium batteries coming to the market now, where Battleborn definitely seems to be the game leader out there. But I know there are other batteries coming to market if you're looking for cost savings. But I wanted the Battleborns just because they had the BMS battery management system built in, and they have a 10-year warranty. So that's what I've been using. And Happily House, I don't know if you guys are still gaming or not, but I'm planning on gaming a bit when I do the off-grid thing. So we'll see how well they hold up. Josh, Lake Pleasant for the car show this weekend. I will not be heading to Lake Pleasant. I got a lot of stuff to do where I'm filming. I'm going to be filming all weekend and getting stuff taken care of, and then filming early next week as well before I head north to Kansas. Mariah Jean, hubby and I left Phoenix, staying a month or two at a place as we head to the Canadian border. Heading up north. Yeah, Phoenix is a good spot to be right now. Again, it's starting to get pretty warm. I think this weekend it's supposed to get up to like 90 Saturday and Sunday. And it's not that windy. It's not as windy as it was, so it's starting to get pretty warm. Stephen Mims, DC is in the house. What's up? What's going on, bud? Dina, flight attendant. I have a good friend in Phoenix as a flight attendant. Always thought that'd be a cool gig. Monique and Greg. I'm from near Toronto, Canada. Are the housing costs rising in the USA like they are in Canada? Totally absurd. We live in a 200 square foot cabin. Yeah, so housing prices is going crazy here in the States as well. We're looking to buy land for tiny home tours, and the market's just absolutely insane. It's hard to find anything these days. So yes, the market is going nuts. I have a couple friends in the real estate business. They are doing very well right now, but we'll see if this is a 2007, 2008 sitch. Priyanan, thanks for joining. Christina, speaking of working remote, what's your setup for reliable connectivity Wi-Fi boosters? I have 40 hours corp gig, needs dependable setup. So Christina, I actually recently got Starlink. So right now, this live Q&A is being ran through my Starlink. It was $600 up front, and then they just raised the price to $110 a month. But I was using a little jetpack, a Verizon jetpack that I spent $100 a month on, and it was unlimited. So there's many different options. I am going to go with Starlink full time. So far, the speed's been amazing. It's been a massive step up. Starlink has started to do roaming. My kit is not on roaming. I just have to pick a new location every time I move, which is not a big deal for having that good of internet. Benny, is that Mark from Happily Houseless? Yes, it is. Benny. Haven't talked to Mark besides text for a long time. Aaron, I'm very close friends with the bus garage staff, and Aaron was saying about he wants to get a school bus. Yeah, that's the best place to be. Figure out which rig's good, which one's bad, and just go for it. Everybody thinks they have all the time in the world to do this stuff, and we don't. Aaron Norris, my dad has built a Ford Transit. He's traveling all over the East Coast with mom due to 78 and doesn't let much slow him down. That's awesome. Yeah, once you get a taste of this lifestyle, you're willing to do whatever it takes to make it work. Levi, I've been looking around to do it, and I've just been watching a lot of videos and people all around the world just doing to be bill free. Yeah, so my utility cost is the upfront cost of my solar kit. Like all my power comes from the sun. Sometimes in the winter, I would have to run the generator a little bit just to, balance out that power. But right now, sunny Arizona, my system should be, topped off around 1 or 2 today. And once I get rid of my electric water heater and get a diesel heater to heat my water, the electric draw is going to be way low. Mark from Happily Houseless. Yeah, no problem. like I was saying, Victron components with Battleborn batteries is what we use for all our rigs, and they've been working fantastic. S18, how much did your build cost? Around 65 to 70,000. It's hard for me to really say because I did some collaborations with some of the gear, and it was such a long process, and I really didn't keep track of everything. It was just like my mindset building this bus was just more of what's the next step? How's it going? Because it was basically about a year process of everyday work to get it livable. And then once I got it livable, I just hit the road. It wasn't painted. I didn't have the ceiling in, a bunch of the small things. I just wanted to hit the road. So there was a period of about a year and a half to where I was slowly building, and I just didn't keep track of the costs. Jessica, Phoenix is not a good place to be. Too expensive. Arizona will soon just be like California, and rent increase to 16 to 2,000 a month. Yeah, so with the exodus out of California, prices everywhere are starting to go up for sure. Monique, thanks for the response. You're very welcome. Thanks for joining. Mariah, we just got our Starlink, still not set it up. Definitely set that up. It's very intimidating to set up the Starlink, but it's actually incredibly simple to set up the Starlink. Mine was set up in like literally 5 to 10 minutes. Set that bad boy up. Starlink's awesome. I love it so much. Benny Hill, Victron #1. Absolutely agree. Victron is a solar components company. My entire rig is built on Victron and Battleborn. D, what's the lowest price in rent you have found during your travels? So believe it or not, D, I have never signed a lease. So throughout college, I got a roommate for my college internship. I did a summer internship in Chicago, but I was in the suburbs and I never signed a lease. It was month to month, and it was like 2.5 months. So I just paid everything up front. So I've actually never paid rent. Before I graduated college, I got my first van and just been kind of traveling around, bouncing around since then. So I have never paid rent, with lease and all that. Stephen Mins, you consider building a coach if you had the money? Well, I feel like my rig is a coach with the raised roof, Cummins 8.3. Feels like a coach to me. But if you're talking about the MCIs and all that, no, I would not, because they are very expensive to replace. Like my bus is expensive enough for the components. But for an example, if I need a new radiator, I can get a brand new one for like $400 or $500. Where if I'm doing an MCI and I need a radiator exchanged, number one, I have to find a shop willing to work on it. Number two, those radiators are like $4,000 to $5,000. And that's across the board. The cost on those bigger buses is so much more. I really like having the school bus for that reason. 2 tenths. Well, I haven't seen you for years. Remember seeing you interviewed by Nomadic Fanatic. Yeah, it's been a long time on YouTube. That's for sure. Been definitely concentrating on tiny home tours. Been concentrating on that YouTube channel, building the team there. Within the next week, we should hit 1 million subscribers over there. So super stoked on that. Mariah, have you stayed in the States that go on tornado watch? We had our first tornado watch here in Louisiana, and I'm not a fan. Yeah, so I spent a year in Kansas. We have a shop in Kansas. If you look up on Facebook and Instagram, Dark Wolf Artisans. I was in Kansas building that shop up, getting everything set up there. And yeah, there was a few tornado warnings. My bus does weigh around 34,000 pounds, so I'm not as nervous as like a camper van. But yeah, it's not a good feeling because you realize how vulnerable you are. Levi, okay, thank you for all you share. Thanks for joining. S18, cool. Thanks for joining. Sarah, how much knowledge about diesel engines did you have before buying the bus? As in, do you need to be a troubleshooting pro or familiar with working with diesel engines at all? Sarah, this was the first diesel engine I ever owned, and I had no idea what any component was. I am, for both good and bad, someone that jumps into something. If I realize it's something I want to do, I just jump in and I figure it out as I go. I've become way more familiar with the diesel engine because I've had to learn on the go. And knock on wood, the Cummins 8.3 that I have has held up really, really well. So I really haven't had to know too much. And also, there's a shop in Phoenix called AAA Bus. I know the owner very well. and I trust him and his staff a lot. And being that I have a shop of people that I trust and they know what they're talking about, they're not going to screw me over. Basically, every year I'm in Arizona, I just take the bus there and I tell them, hey, if you think something's going to break in the next 3 to 4 years, maybe even 5 years, just replace it now. I don't care about the cost, because what happens is when you're on the road, whether it be gas, diesel, whatever it is, if you get to a shop where there's people that just want to take advantage of you being broke down at their shop, you are literally at their mercy. Like, you're just hoping for good things to happen. And when you throw money in the mix with human nature, that is a absolutely horrible combination. So you could find yourself in a very tricky spot. Like, there are so many stories I know from nomads where they broke down and then the shop just screws them over. Like, perfect example, Tony was telling me about this this guy who had his turbo go out on the road, and the shop was like, yeah, it's gonna be $4,500. And Tony was like, well, the turbo new cost $1,200. So you're saying that it's going to be 3,800 or 28. I don't know the math right now, but it's going to be like $3,000 for you to install a turbo that takes 2 hours. So you can find yourself in some bad spots. So it is good to know costs and roundabout how much something might cost, but finding shops that you trust is the main variable there. Benny Hill. I got Screaming Lucky purchased 2.5 acres with established clean water well, working septic system, and electric pedestal, and 3 already in a property for $2,100 or $21,000. Sorry. That is an awesome deal, Benny. Super stoked for you. I would kill for something like that right now. James, any suggestions on the East Coast? Not really friendly for my rig, but that darn family thing. Yeah, James, I stay away from the East Coast. So interestingly enough, I'm about to head back to the Midwest. I am going to be leaving my bus at a friend's place and taking one of our mini buses over to the East Coast, or not even the East Coast, like the Midwest. For those that don't know, public land, BLM land, basically, if you could just draw a line from the Mississippi River west, that's where you're going to find the good spots. It's going to be a lot more open. People are going to be more friendly to RVs and school buses and all that. You start getting east of that, besides down south like Florida, Louisiana, Texas, you start getting east of that, it's not a good thing. So I always try and keep my bus out of the East Coast, Midwest if I can. Lucy's question. Many don't insulate the ceilings of their bus. Doesn't that help it? Doesn't that keep it hot or colder? Yeah, so my bus is insulated on the ceiling, and every bus that we do, and every bus that I've seen, actually, they will insulate the ceiling. So my bus, from the walls to the arch up top, has 1.5 inches of spray foam, closed cell spray foam insulation, commercial grade, and it does help a tremendous amount. So, for example, I drove to a shoot yesterday in my bus, and it was probably 60 degrees outside, but the insulation and everything held the heat in so much that I had to basically open every window and have multiple fans going just to get it to cool down in here. And it took like a half an hour to an hour to start cooling down in here. Like, that's how well the insulation works. Plus I have 3/4 inch plywood on top of the insulation. So the bus is very well insulated. So Lucy, to answer your question, a lot of people do insulate the ceilings from what I see. Unless you're talking about the very simple DIY builds where they don't even take the ceiling down, or when you start doing raised roof buses or people that are living in it full time that have multiple rigs, they'll always insulate the ceiling from what I see. Happily Houseless. He's responding to Benny. We're looking for an off-grid base somewhere in the desert. So what Mark's saying from Happily Houseless there is a lot of people are looking for land right now. A lot of the nomads that I do know on the road, a lot of people are transitioning to wanting to buy land. And I mentioned this in a previous live video, but when COVID first hit, I was on public land and with a group of other nomads, and we didn't know if they were going to shut down all of public land at that area, and we didn't really have anywhere to go. So it was a very vulnerable feeling. So I think that's part of it. And then also people just wanting a home base. Like, they don't necessarily want to invest in a house, but they will invest in land because then they can park their rig there and live cheaply on that. So that is something that is happening. I think that's why a lot of people are buying land that are nomads. Rose, hello from crazy Southern California. I love this page. Thanks for joining, Rose. And yeah, Southern California is a little crazy. Darlene, Kobuck. Oh, there's Kobe. Oh, there's Kobe's. Kobuck. Oh, he's a good boy. Yep, he's here. Michelle, do you tow a car? Yes, I tow a Honda Element. That has been working very well for me. I love the Element. I was going to get a Jeep, but I made an adult decision, and Elements seem to hold up better over time. And there are times that I do regret not getting a Jeep because I love Jeeps, but I ended up getting a Honda Element, and it's been a night and day difference from being out in the middle of nowhere and not being able to go into town versus being able to unhook my car, run into town, take the dog to the dog park, grab groceries. It's so much better. Sharhonda, how do you handle the question of physical address and receiving mail while traveling? So I have my mail forwarded to family members, and anything important like from the IRS or any road tolls or anything like that, they'll just snap a picture for me and I will take care of it on my end. Mariah, I absolutely love the tiny home tours. I have a mad respect for people who create their own path. Well, thank you for joining and checking out the tours, because we wouldn't be able to do it without all of you watching. Charlene, happy to see you. May God bless your travels. Greetings. Thanks you as well. Peggy, where do you park and what is the cost? I am currently parked on public land and it is free. I just have to move every 2 weeks. Sarah, you're very welcome. So we got a little spam there. One second here. There we go. All right, James, have a good day, bud. Mary Hay from Philadelphia. Going to do a couple more questions and jumping off here. I got a tour to shoot. Tamara, first timer here from Lower Michigan. Thanks for joining. Yvonne, hi from the UK. Thanks for joining. Fuzz, I'm so happy I caught you live streaming. I'm a huge fan of your channel. Thanks for subscribing and checking out all the videos. Sue, where can someone buy a moving home? So it depends on what you're looking for. You can buy a camper van. You can buy a traditional tiny home. You could buy a school bus. You can get them from auction and then build them yourself. Or you can go to websites like rvtrader.com and you'll find tons of different rigs on there. Stephen Mills, am I freezing? Hopefully I'm not freezing anymore. Tamara, I do watch all the tours. We have great land here in Michigan. Yes, I do love Southern Michigan. Last question of the day is from D. So D, where do I find land? That is campendium.com. I posted that on all of the socials. So I am going to jump off here and get a tour filmed, and be sure to leave any extra questions in the comments and I will get to those next time. But thanks for stopping by, everybody, and have a great day.